Would be discussing about identity access management. It is a free service that is used for user and group creation, using which we can log into Amazon Web Services. So first we'll try to log into the console. So it's console.amazon.com. So you would be using an username and password, email address and password that you use to log in to your account. You would be using an email ID and you would have created a password during the account creation stage. So we would try to log in using that account. So that one is called as an user root account. So I'm just going to provide my email ID. And I'm going to enter this characters here and my password that I created during the account creation stage. So let me hit don't save. So today we are going to see about the service called as IAM. So we tried to log in using the email ID and password that we used during the account creation stage, right? This is called as the root account, and using this account we'll have access to all the services. Okay, and we can do anything that we want in this account. So usually it's not recommended to provide this email ID or password to anyone for them to access the AWS services. If you want to give them permissions, probably go here, create an user using their name and give permissions to them. And do not share your email ID and password with anyone in your company. So that is the best practices that we have to follow. So let's see the first one, which is at the top right corner, which is it's a global service. So there are a lot of services in AWS which are region based. So it would be available in that particular region, for example, in India or Australia or US. But if we see, for example, IAM, it's common for all the regions. So we use a single username for logging in to all the regions that we have. Okay, so that's why it's called as a global service. And first I'll show you a demo of creating a user. So you click here, add users, and give it a username user1. And there are two things, which is programmatic access and password for authentication. So this programmatic access is usually used for CLI, AWS CLI or SDK or API calls that is made without access of GUI. They'll try to access it from the background. So when we're trying to access the services from backend, we usually use this programmatic access. And if we are trying to, just use a normal username and password, we choose the second option. And there are two options, which is auto-generated. AWS will give an auto-generated password for us. For now, let me choose a custom password and let me key in a template password. And this option, it says user must create a new password at the next sign in, which means I'm going to give this user account to the employee in my company. When he tries to log in, when he first logs in, right, it'll ask him to change his password. Why? Because the reason is I'm the one who created this account and I'm the one sharing the username and password with him. So I will be still having access to his password. So in order to avoid that, what we could do is we could check in this option so that my employee who has joined my company can log in and change his password immediately before accessing any of the services. Right? So next we go to permission stage. So when we go to permission stage, there are three ways using which we can grant users the permissions to access AWS services. So only via this permissions, any user that's created in AWS will have access to click on any service, rent a service, create a user, delete a user, anything. So first, and also there is three ways of doing it. One is adding a user to a group. This is the well followed way, and this is a recommended way of doing it. And or if we know that there is another employee who's present in my company who's gonna working on the same team, so I can copy his permissions and I can provide it to the new employee who has joined the same team. Okay, or I can attach existing policies directly to the users. So for now, what we'll do is we'll use this third options, which is attaching the existing policies directly to the user. So I'm clicking here. So I'm considering that the user one is going to my cloud administrator of my company. So what access I have to provide him? I have to provide him full access. Okay, so I'm going to give him administrator access. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on hit next tags. So I'm going to give him a department. This is just a label of which department he's going to belong to, and I'm going to say that he is the cloud admin of my company. And here I'm just going to review it if I've given everything correctly. So username is correct, and a password is a custom password type. He's going to use a username and password to log into this console. And yes, a required password reset. So when the next time he tries to log in, he requires a password reset. And these are the policies that's assigned to him. So let me create the user now. Once the user is created, we have actually two ways of sending this information. So either we can download it as an Excel file and send it over to him, or we could directly email him the credentials and he could use that to log in to his user account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an incognito window. So I'm going to use a new private window. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to just trying to log into console again. So when I'm trying to log in here, I'm not going to use the email ID and password. I'm going to use the user account that I have created. So what I'll do, I'll go ahead and click on IAM user. So account ID, where would we get this information? Again, we go to the account where we logged in using our email ID and password. We go to the IAM service again. So here if you go to dashboard, right? So first I'll delete this alias that's present here. So you have an account ID. So you can copy this account ID and you can paste it here. And you'll be able to log in. So if I have to provide this account ID for all the employees, it might be a little bit difficult for them to understand or remember this account ID, which is the account ID of my company. So what I'll do, I'll go here and I'll create an alias for him, a name for this ID. And since it's going to be globally unique, it should be a unique name that no one has used before. If I have a company called Facebook, no one else should have another company with the same name, Facebook. So for example, if I type in love and try to save the changes, right, it says alias love already exists, meaning someone is already having an account which says love as alias on it. So I'm going to hit on create and I'm going to search for some alias which no one has used it before. So Jafar is going to be my alias. Let me click on changes. Okay, thankfully no one has used this Jafar alias before in any part of the world, so I'm able to access it. So I'm going here, instead of the account ID, I'm going to type in my alias name. And now I'm going to hit on next. So again, what is going to be my username? What is the user that I created? User 1 is the user that I created. So let me put in his username, user 1, and I'll put in the password as well. Okay, so as we applied the tick mark, right, when we created a user, in the step we checked on this tick mark. So I'm just giving it a random name, password policy. So we have this check mark, right? Since we enabled this check mark, it's asking me to reset my password when the first time I log in. So I'm going to type in my old password, going to give it a new password. and let me click on confirm password change. See, we've logged in with the user1. So let's try accessing all the services or certain services, even the IAM service in AWS, and let's see if we are able to access it without any issues, or if we have any permission error that we are getting. This looks good. I'm able to see all the users present, so I'm having access to this account and I'm able to view and navigate over IAM without any issues. And why is that? That is because if you go to users and under permissions, we've given administrator access. Let's remove this access. For example, I'm going to detach this permission. It's taking some time and now it's detached. So I'm going to the browser where I logged in with user1, and I'm refreshing the page. Now I'm getting permission denied. That is because there is no policy that is attached to our user account. So again, what we could do, we've talked about the user creation process. Now let's go to group creation. Okay, group is something like clubbing the employees together. For example, my company can have multiple employees, and the employees can belong to different teams. So 5 employees can belong to a cloud architect team, 5 employees can belong to a developer team. So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and create a group for them. So first I'll create a group for cloud architects, cloud architect or cloud admin. Okay, and so here we can either add the user directly while we are creating itself, or we can do it after we created the group and then we can add the users as well. So now we'll skip this step and add the users later. So cloud admin, what permission he should have? Again, he should have admin permissions to do everything in AWS. So I'm going to filter with admin permissions. Let's scroll down. Yeah, there is one called administrator access. I've given this access to that particular group and I've created the group. Okay, and as you could see, there should not be any space present between them. So let me delete the space and let me create a group again. Now the group is successfully created. Now I'm going to refresh this page where I'm logged in with user1. Okay, still I don't have permissions. Why? Yes, we have not added any permissions to the user yet. So I'm going to this cloud admin group, and under users I'm going to go ahead and click on add users and add this particular user1 and click on add users. Now this cloud admin group contains the user1 inside it. So now let's try to refresh this. Now we have full access to do everything. So let's try to go to some other service called S3 and see if we have access to that. S3 is again a tribe kind of service that is offered by AWS. Yes, I'm able to see all my tribe objects as well. So this is how we create users and we create groups and add it to them. So for example, let's assume that another employee is getting added and he's again going to the cloud team. All I can do is I can add user. I need not give any permission, I just have to enter his name. For example, his name is user2. I'm going to give it user2. Password access, and I'll just use an auto-generated password. Next permissions, I'm going to skip everything. Okay, I can here again I can directly add him to the group, or I can create the user and add him to the group again. So we'll just ignore this for now. Once it's created, we'll again add him. So next review, create user. This is again done. This is my second cloud administrator. So I have to put him to the cloud administrator group again. Go here, cloud admin, add users, and add the user2 as well to the admin group. So now if I log in using this employee whose username is user2, even then I'll have full access to my AWS account, because this cloud admin group has permission administrator access, which allows permissions to access to all the websites. Okay, Now we'll see about permissions as well. So these permissions, they are just JSON documents which will have a set of statement, and if the statement matches, we are going to be allowed. If the statement does not match, we are going to be denied. So let's expand this administrator access itself. So here it says effect is allow, and action is start for all the services and all the resources. So if we give a deny here, no, he's not able to access anything. He'll not be able to access any services in AWS. Since there is an effect as allow and under the statement, we are able to access all the services when we log in with the username user1 or user2. Let it be anything that is particularly added to that particular group. Okay.